Hamilton, Wells Fargo to win the Louisiana Derby. Dr. 511, Bobby and Pratt, victorious in the Del Mar Futurity. And Swiss Skydiver is sailing home here. Another win for Heronis Racing and John Sadler and the Big Cat Joel Rosario aboard.
Welcome to the Capital OTB Stakes Preview, brought to you by Capital OTB Bet. Seth, Merrow, Mike Callahan. Welcome.
What's going on, Seth? How you doing?
Not too much. And if you're not a member already, Capital OTB Bet, consider it a great way to place your wagers, bells and whistles, promos, mobile wagering platforms that are very convenient and easy to use, and plenty of convenient and easy to use bricks and mortar spots as well, with promotions taking place there also.
Absolutely. Speaking of promotions, we're taping on Thursday. Today, with bankroll that we do on a bi-weekly basis, and we're able to make $300 for the team. And that's just one of many promotions that we do here. You talked about the website, going to capitalotb.com to sign up there, capitalotbbet.com to wager. We have a lot going on. We talk about it at the end of the show each and every time. We're on Roku. We have our own TV station as well. So there's just a lot that we provide here for our patrons. So if you're new to the show, Capital OTB, definitely want to sign up for an account.
Yeah, no question about it. You can find out more at capitalotb.com. Last week, we were talking before we went on the air. Last week, boy, it was a big weekend. Tampa Bay Derby and a fantastic undercard there. The Gotham in New York, the San Felipe out in Southern California, and a nice out at Santa Anita as well. And I would, the first time of year, kind of a spotlight, steps along the Derby trail. It was a lot of fun. I thought Helium was interesting in the Tampa Bay Derby, so I had him in the mix a little bit, and he had a nice gutsy performance with Helium. You were saying before we went on the air, we were talking, you said, how does Hidden Stash not go by?
I mean, he was my top choice in the race. At this point, I was playing multi-race wagers, pick threes, pick fours. I'm like, right here. I was like, okay,
and I think
gotta go past.
Get by a little bit, but boy, then
right here at this point, you think he's just going to grind away a victory, but Helium just gets a second wind at this point, and is able to kick clear and did so impressively, especially with the alpha layoff.
With veteran jockey Jose Ferrer on top, and I heard Ferrer on with Steve Bick this week, and he was pretty excited about the victory and thinking, hey, who knows, maybe I go to the Derby here. That would be a great story. And that is kind of the game plan. And I will say, I liked Helium on Saturday, a little bit. I had him down in the mix. But if you were watching OTB Live, I looked up at the odds. I said, you know what, play around with this horse a little bit. He's interesting. But as you said, he was coming off of 2 starts up at Woodbine on the synthetic. One of those is a stakes win, 2 for 2, but on the synthetic at Woodbine. So he'd been on the sidelines. He was going to have to try dirt. I noted here on the show last week, the racing form PPs didn't show outlines. They didn't go back far enough. But they showed workouts for Helium at fairgrounds. And at the end of last year, he had a workout on the dirt at the fairgrounds, which kind of tipped the hand that maybe the dirt was going to be okay for Helium. It was. That was a really nice, gutsy performance. But as I say, I kind of liked them in the mix, and at the odds, I fooled around a little bit on Saturday. But now Mark Cassidy has said they think they may just train up to the Derby.
That's what I heard. I mentioned that on the new podcast that we did, especially with having one start in probably 6 months. So it's tough. But we're going to talk about it a little bit later on. You talk about all others all the time, but Helium's going to be in that all others at $60. So I thought it was an increment. I'm with you. I'd like to see one more race to sort of tighten him up, make sure everything's good. But again, he was able to show that he can run off a long layoff. He's going to have 6+ weeks till the first Saturday in May. So we'll see how it all plays out.
And now Mark Cassidy, a Hall of Famer, so he knows what he's doing. He will be inducted this year, although officially he was inducted last year. But they just, with the situation, they didn't have the ceremony, so they're doubling up this year. And, it seems like things are going okay. I actually scheduled my jab for this weekend, so I'm hoping that by the time we get to summertime, maybe I'm hoping to normal.
I always like Mark because he loves coming on the show. Whenever we go up to Woodbine, because we're always partners with them for their sponsorship, he's always extremely nice and positive with us. A guy who loves to promote the game, promote his horses, promote his philosophy. So it's just a person that's easy to root for.
Totally agree. Another guy that was easy to root for last weekend up in New York. And another gutsy performance. Another horse that was passed in the stretch and came back and got it done. For Jimmy Jerkins. I've always Jerkins at a very big price. And he was kind of tough to come up with. And subsequently, Sunday morning, and here we see, Wyburn, again, will get past here in the stretch, but just gutsy says, no, you're not going by me. Again, Wyburn at that big price. You see it up there at the top between 46-1. Jimmy Jerkins trainee. And again, I had Dave Grenig come. You see, he gets there and comes back. You got to love this. But Dave Grenig was on with me Sunday morning, the Daily Racing Forum correspondent for New York. He said both of these horses, the top two finishers, were both set to run an allowance race on the card that didn't fill. And because it didn't fill, they wind up in the Gotham and they run 1-2.
That's just lightning striking in a bottle. I mean, there's no other way to put it. That's obviously a tremendous performance by both horses because, yes, Crowded Trade was a horse that had the lead, got past, bettors will probably not like that. But he only had one career start, and that was his first time going 2 turns. He could easily improve off that effort. So I thought those were educational, for purposes, educational, and for Wyburn, I mean, he passed a serious test in grinding back for that victory. So.
And he goes all others on I jumped in for some all others.
Yeah. We just mentioned that are going to fit in that category.
Yeah, so interesting. But, so we looked at 2 really nice gutsy performances, but the eye-popping performance, and I sat in here last Saturday doing OTB Live and stuck around for the San Felipe. It was into the program, but when we came back, I just had my jaw drop. That was the performance by Life is Good was phenomenal. And we'll see it here, and I'm glad we're picking up from the beginning. Horse, and Mike Smith hustles him out, but then the rest of the kind of catches up, but it cuts the corner here and separates himself from the field on the turn as they kind of float out a little bit. And from that point, that's all she said. I mean, he just kind of lopes around and opens it up. And this was just a phenomenal performance from the Baffert runner.
107 buyer. It's a little green down the stretch, which is something that he has shown a tendency to do. So obviously, still several weeks out from the Derby. They're going to tighten some screws there. But he's got a world of potential. I mean, life may be great Saturday in May.
Just incredible. And the other Baffert runner runs second in here. So he again is kind of loaded for the Derby this year. But Life is Good, as you say, with that triple-digit buyer being lightly raced. And what's in?
I mean, look, he's not even fully asking. He's just telling him to run straight at this point because he's sort of veering out for a hot dog. But it's just look at the time too. He's going to come back 142 flat, and he's just been unbelievable. So
incredible. And he wound up 2-1 as the shortest single price after that performance. Not surprising. Other single-digit prices, Essential Quality wound up last weekend's Future when it closed. He winds up at Greatest Honor at 7. They were the only other single-digit prices amongst the entrants, but then all others. When I played it at the end of the day, it was still sitting at 10-1, so it got slammed a little because I played pretty close to the end of the pool, but it got slammed late. And with the 2 other winners that we looked at that were in there, not surprising. Some other prices that are a little bit prevalence though, who as we do this on Thursday is actually about set to go and make the second career start. Prevalence at 29-1. For a horse with only 1 start, that's a Luna horse I like 17-1. And I was talking to Brian Addo on the Handicappers Report last week and looking, and the odds were kind of in that area when we talked. And I said, I don't know if you want that. I think in these pools you're always looking for 20 or 30-1. And Brian said, I don't know, 17-1, because if he wins his next start, he goes in the Derby shorter than that. Probably right. I mean, if you can get man wins the next, you're potentially going to pay $36. It's probably okay.
No, absolutely. And then you're talking, we're going to talk Oaklawn action this weekend, and you're going to have Caddo River at 16-1. You're going to have Concert Tour, and those look to be the betting favorites. 17-1 closed already at pool 4. And then keep me in mind, 30-1. So he's the sort of the other horse if you're sort of looking at the alternatives to Caddo River and Concert Tour. But somebody's going to be extremely happy. If one of those horses wins, you've already got clocked in at a big price. So that's the nice part about it. So.
Yeah, so it was a fun weekend last weekend. And again, we talked about the races, and I think we pointed out some horses that maybe could have thrown in the mix on some of the undercard stakes as well on a big weekend last weekend. This weekend, we're going to pretty much concentrate on Oaklawn. Super big day out there and super fun day at Oaklawn and down in Arkansas, highlighted by, again, the 3-year-old stakes race that we'll talk a little bit about later on. But, Mike, why don't we kick things off in the Azeri? Fillies and Mares going a mile and a 16th, and I'll pull up a replay from the Remington Park Oaks. This was a couple starts back for Envoytant, the Ken McPeak runner, and I expect to have Ken McPeak on with me on Racing Across America, not just to talk about this horse, but Swiss Skydiver runs this weekend as well. But this Remington Park Oaks, he kind of sat, stalked, and then made the run here to get it done. The follow-up in the Fall City was a front. I think this demonstrates, though, she doesn't necessarily need the front end. But in this short field with She Dares the Devil maybe having some early speed, I think she's tactical enough, given what we've seen in the last two, that she can be out there or kind of sit and stalk. And she comes in good form off those 2 to end last year. She is now a newly turned 4-year-old, but the Fall City win, which ended her season last year, was against older horses as well. What we watched was the Oaks, obviously against 3-year-olds, but she stepped up against older company last and did it pretty nicely. So I think she got good at the end of her 3-year-old season. Subsequent workout, good. Voitant on top. She Dares the Devil in the 2nd spot, and Get Rid of What Ails You down in the 3rd spot, who might pick up the pieces if the speed does fall apart, and I know that's a horse you like.
Yeah, I wanted to go with someone different in this spot, and I thought Get Rid of What Ails You is a horse that we're going to see right now, coming off a near year-plus layoff in the Pippin Stakes at Oaklawn. Is a closer predominantly, and you're going to see that as we take a look at the replay. But I see a lot of speed in the Azeri here. You're going to see Envoytant, but I agree with you. I like the versatility of your top choice, the fact that it was able to do it on the lead last time out, or 2 starts back was able to come from off of it. But Latruska is going to go to the lead. You have to know that. She Dares the Devil coming off the layoff is probably going to be, fresh and ready to go, is going to be near on the lead. This is going to be Get Rid of What Ails You on the outside here, the 3-horse, and is able to come with a really nice closing kick and a half and kick clear. That was going a mile. They're going to go a mile in the 16th, so I think the extra 16th may help in this spot. And the way that I think it sets up in here, you could see some horses battling at the top of the stretch, and if for some reason they get into a big battle, you can see Get Rid of What Ails You picking up the pieces at 3-1. So I'll try with a little bit of an upset here in the Azeri. Underneath the 1, Envoytant, for all the reasons you already talked about and the versatility, I think she's going to sit a really nice trip. And then She Dares the Devil, who is your Kentucky Oaks winner from last year, beating Swiss Skydiver and Gamine, 2 big names in that division last year. You know, the Spinster showed some speed that day, ultimately finished 3rd, now coming off a little bit of a layoff, hasn't been seen. I expect her to run a big race, but again, he needs a race coming off that. I'll ultimately see, but I wanted to go in a little bit of a different direction, so I went 4-1-5 in the Azeri.
Yeah, and I had it 1-5-4. You know, it's only a 5-horse field, but it's a nice field in the Azeri, setting things up maybe a little bit later on in the meet for the Apple Blossom. The Essex Handicap also comes up on Saturday at Oaklawn, 8.5 furlongs. I'm going to pull up a replay here of the 5th season, which was run on January 23rd. The winner here, by a nose, coming a little bit late, is going to be Silver State for Steve Asmussen. 97 buyer, won an optional claimer just prior to that with a 101 buyer, won at Keeneland just prior to that with a 97. So I think the Asmussen, you see right there, nice nose victory, and comes in very good form. Asmussen having a very good season down at Oaklawn. So I'll tilt in that direction. Tax is interesting to me, though. Obviously, the Pegasus was just not a good race for this one. I'm going to draw a line through it. I'm going to go back to the Harlan's Holiday. I'm going to think maybe this is a clever move to Oaklawn to vie for the $500,000 purse. And again, getting back to that Harlan's Holiday 2 back, Tax may wind up being the one to beat. And I'm interested to see, off the dud last time where does the betting public go with tax? But I'll put that one underneath ups, and Harper's First interesting to me as well, but I gave a slight edge to Night Ops in that it seems like outside of Maryland, Harper's First ride isn't quite as potent, but does move into the barn of Robertino Diodoro, which I'm curious, I'd like to know the story on that. Did it really move into the barn of Robertino Diodoro, or is it just a situation where maybe high percentage trainer Claudio Gonzalez doesn't have an Arkansas license, so maybe they just had to ship into the new barn for this race? I'm not sure about that one way or the other. But again, I do think this horse is a little better on the Maryland circuit than outside. So I went 5, 4, 7, and 2.
Yeah, I went 7, 4, 5, and 6. I agree with you. Tax, extremely scary, and the fact that 2 starts back, went wire to wire, and there's not a lot of speed in here. I expect Tax to be betting here. But I thought Night Ops, and our TV director, Brian, he may be able to bring up the replay that we just showed where Silver State won, because Diamond Ops actually comes out of that race, and you can kind of see where Diamond Ops was. Really never got a chance to run, was towards the rear of the field, was in between horses, sort of bumped around. Playoff. I think there's a couple different excuses you can give to Night Ops. I think needed that race, loves Oaklawn. Thanks for bringing it up, Ryan. The ones that sort of in between there and sort of bumped the entire way around and finally got clear to get up for third. I thought it was an okay effort. I think needed that start. Coming off that layoff that I had talked about. And again, the fact that the horse loves Oaklawn, has 3 wins in 7 starts, and 6 for 7 in the money, I think can progress forward off that last race. And at 3-1, I expect the horse to be bet as well. Tax, very scary in this spot, especially being forwardly placed. Silver State, the horse, the now horse, 2 perfect trips the last couple, but I expect this horse to be favored in here, looking for 4 in a row. So interesting race. I'll try to look for a little bit of an upset in here with Diamond Ops. 7, 4, 5, and 6.
All right, let's move on to the Temperance Hill, also on the card on Saturday at Oaklawn. I have written at the top of my page, and it may be bad wording, but I have flawed bunch. It's just horses that seem a little bit inconsistent, and nobody really coming in super good form. So there's nobody you jump towards and have much confidence. But I see you're looking towards taking a look at Flagstaff in here. So why don't you talk a little bit about that one?
Yeah.
Treasure Trove. I mean.
Yeah, Treasure Trove. Yeah, I was say we're looking.
I skipped one.
You're projecting forward. Let me take a look at some different papers there.
Treasure Trove.
But Treasure Trove, I actually was talking to. We just mentioned Brian, our TV director. We were putting together the replays for the show, and I said, "Hey, replay. That's going to be tough to watch if you had this horse because you should have won this allowance race." You're going to see that Treasure Trove finished 3rd, beaten 3/4 of a length. Now, this is where I really recommend watching replays and just looking more than just looking at past performances. He's going to be the 2 on the rail here. He's going to, right here, cut up the rail and make a move. And at this point, you think maybe he's going to finish, 3rd, the other 2. And then the top 2 start to get tired. And he's sort of slipping up the rail, and he just runs out of room. At this point, the jockey has to stop riding, and he should have won this race. There's no doubt about it. He was pretty much getting wrangled back. I think he'll like stretching out for a mile and a half. He finished 3 starts back, 4th to Jesus' team. We saw Jesus' team run 2nd in the Pegasus World Cup. He's got a couple races that can make him extremely competitive. He did run 2-mile race, 2 starts back on the turf. He's not a turf horse, so just draw a line through that. I'd like to see that he did run races to get some stamina in him. So Treasure Trove at a big price at 12-1 on the morning line is going to be the long shot on the day for me at Oaklawn anyway. Florent Giroux is going to be aboard, so I probably expect the price to go down a little bit, especially with Mike Maker in here. But I think he's a horse you want to consider, especially in any multi-race wager bets. Plainsman in the 2nd spot, 9-2 on the morning line. Good second last time out, going the mile at Oaklawn. Does have a victory. He's 1 for 7. So that's where I ultimately had to take a stand against Plainsman. I think if you're taking a look at this overall, buyers, current form, definitely a horse to put. But for me, the fact that this horse is only 1 for 7 as far as wins goes, I point in a different direction. And then the 9 in the 3rd spot, Lone Rock. This is 3 in a row, looking for 4 in a row, but there's going to be a class test. Yes, this horse had run against some better competition earlier on in the career. Then the form started to sort of slow down, and now he's sort of caught his second win, and they'll be looking for 4 in a row. Robert at 6-1. So interesting race. Again, when you're looking at these mile-and-a-half races, a lot of the horses have never gone this distance, so you have to sort of project what you think your philosophy is on these marathon races. So 6, 4, 9, and 5 for me.
Yeah, and as I said, they're inconsistent. You mentioned the mile-and-a-half, which is certainly notable because they may turn for home at the end of the race, and 1 or 2 of these may just separate and be more keen to the distance. But I went with Plainsman. I just thought this horse, it's a Brad Cox trainee that has pretty good numbers earlier in the career. The last few races, the numbers aren't as good, but 3 back, they got in the vicinity. Last time also seemed to be moving in the right direction. Now, the mile-and-a-half is going to be the big question. This horse has some additional early speed, maybe just sits a kind of a close-up stalking position and can make a run late that'll be beneficial. But again, still has to answer that mile-and-a-half question. So I tilt here without a lot of confidence. Lone Rock is interesting. Claim 2 back at Churchill, and then seasonal debut at Oaklawn was a good win for Robertina Diodoro, who's having a very, very good. So again, I just thought interesting. A horse in good form right now. Third spot, I went with Tenfold. Asmussen horse I've liked throughout here. This one actually went the mile-and-a-half last time on the Trove at Sam Houston and the John Connolly. Ran an okay 4th in there, 2 for 4 over the surface at Oaklawn. So again, I think Tenfold is a real player as well. And then Treasure Trove, who you mentioned, I used down in the 4 spot. Again, I think he's a player too. Be interested to see what the odds are. The morning line at 12-1, very generous. But for me, 4, 9, 1, and 6. All right, the Hot Springs for 4-year-olds and up sprinting. I looked at Boldor. The horse to beat is clearly going to be Whitmore. The horse that's going to attract the attention. The horse that's going to be the story. The horse that probably will be the sentimental favorite, 8-year-old Whitmore. But Boldor is a horse I've liked since early in the career, another one of those Asmussen runners that I get tied to. And he ran a lifetime best buyer number last time in the King Cotton over a sloppy track at Oaklawn. But again, it was a lifetime best number at Oaklawn. Maybe as a 5-year-old, this horse is just kind of finding himself and getting into good form. We'll watch the stretch run to the Hot Springs with Boldor getting it done last time. Again, pretty convincingly and with that nice triple-digit buyer, but again, it was also over a sloppy track. So is the horse getting good right now as a 5-year-old, or just appreciated maybe the off-going that day? We'll find out perhaps more on Saturday. But I'll put Boulder on top. Then, yeah, just couldn't get past Whitmore. Comes out of the win in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He won this stakes race, the Hot Springs, last year. Just an easy horse to root for. A nice 8-year-old talented sprinter. Whitmore in second and Engage in third. Went back to the Breeders' Cup Sprint of 2019 to see a triple-digit buyer figure. Lightly raced clearly last year, but now gets to string a couple together again, and another Asmussen runner that could be interesting, maybe at a little bit of value in the Hot Springs for me. 1, 6, 4, and 7.
Yeah, I tried to go in a little bit of different direction in here. 2, 6, 7, and 4. Flagstaff is a horse that, man, just each and every time seems to be there, just can't get the job done, at least of recent. But I did want to bring up a replay of last year in the Count Fleet, the last time that Whitmore and Flagstaff ended up facing each other. And you're going to see Whitmore's the 9 on the outside, the eventual winner, and is able to take the lead here at the top of the stretch. Flagstaff's not even going to be in the picture. He's going to be dead last at this point, and he's going to come on the outside. And at this point, you think maybe he's going to finish, third, fourth at best. But he comes with a really good kick to get up and almost get there. He ends up losing by 3/4 of a length to Whitmore. He's a horse that faced CZ Rocket, who's also in here, and Seth and I both have in the mix. CZ Rocket ahead. Again, he just seems to be there and not get the job done. I think on Saturday, the price is finally going to be right. 9-2, I think, is going to hold in here. And yes, last time out, Boulder, your top choice, was able to beat him. I just think Flagstaff didn't like the slop at all. It was his first time over it. Now getting back onto a fast ground. He has 2 bullet workouts, including that first 123 on February 20th. So you like to see that. I think he's interesting in here. So I wanted to use him at a little bit of a price. He's going to be my top choice. Whitmore underneath the reasons. Probably going to be just a really cool horse. 9 for 14 at Oaklawn. the surface there. Would be not all to see him win. And then CZ Rocket in the third spot. Horse has just been in razor sharp form. Yes, hasn't been seen since November in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. The horse finished second to Whitmore. But if you're just looking for horses that were in a tremendous form in 2020, CZ Rocket's the horse for you. So 2, 6, 7, and 4 for me in the Hot Springs.
And finally, as mentioned earlier, a nice 3-year-old stake on the card as well of the Rebel Grade 2 event. A mere $1 million up for grabs as they go on 16th. And Mike, I'll let you start things off because you like the Brad. I wasn't quite sure what to do with it. I put it right underneath, but I debated between my top two, Caddo River. Let's talk about that one.
Yeah, I have it 1, 2, 7, and 6, and I'm going to show you a replay of Caddo River. The alternative is going to be Concert Tour, who I know you're going to talk about here in a second. First 2 career starts, ultimately finished second. Those were going 7 furlongs. Then put together to break the maiden at Churchill, winning by an impressive 9.5. And then you're going to see the Smarty Jones. Hadn't been seen since November 15th of 2020, and this was just a jog in the park. Caddo River was able. The race was over. He ends up winning by 10 1/4. Interested to see how Cowan's going to come out of this race, because Cowan's the 3 that left-hand second in here. Cowan ended up going overseas under in the Saudi Cup and finished a really good second. So I think that should flatter Caddo River. On the 1 hole, got to see if he's forwardly placed. There's other sort of go or take back and maybe angle out. We'll see how it all develops in here. Caddo River has a ton of potential. To me, he's a horse that a hard spun. He's just a big galloping type of stride to him. And Brad Cox, obviously, has been having a terrific year so far. I'll use Caddo in the second spot. I think this horse is a little underrated. I've seen him a couple times down at Fairgrounds. He's looking for 3 in a row. Yes, there's going to be a class test in here, but he's just a grinder. Each and keep getting better and better. Yes, he has to improve comparative to the top 2, 3 in here. But if you're looking for a little bit of a price at 12 to 1, you're going to get a good combo with Ricardo Santana Jr. and Steve Asmussen teaming up in here. And then the 7, your top choice, Concert Tour. He's done absolutely nothing wrong. Coming in for Bob Baffert, this horse has shown some signs of brilliance. I have to believe this horse is going to be able to go 2 turns, going the mile on the 16th. Ultimately, for me, I was a big fan of Freedom Fighter last week, who he sort of grinded down last time in the San Vicente, and Freedom Fighter didn't do too much, but that doesn't mean that Concert Tour can't in this spot. But I think he's a significant player in here, and would not be shocked at all to see him win. So 1, 2, 7, and 6.
Yeah, and we're going to look at the San Vicente here, where Concert Tour will get over Freedom Fighter. As you say, Freedom Fighter ran 4th in the Gotham last Saturday after leading and fading a little bit. So not necessarily flattering Concert Tour, but this was only start number 2 for Concert Tour. Came out of a maiden win in the debut. So to win a stakes race like this in the second career start, that's a big ask to begin with. Working well since. It's Bob Baffert shipping to Oaklawn. That has proven to be very potent in the past. So I'll tilt in that direction, but I took a serious look at Caddo River. The race we just looked at, the Smarty Jones, was phenomenal. So I'm certainly not arguing against that horse by any means. To me, these two are pretty equally matched. I just tilted slightly towards Concert Tour. Big Lake in. I'm not going to make arguments there, because I think once you get past the top 2, it becomes kind of interesting. The 2 that were intriguing to me, keep me in mind, Robertino Diodoro and Superstock, another Asmussen runner, hasn't been seen since a close-up second in the Street Sense last year at Churchill in October.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I didn't really know what to do with Keep Me in Mind. I had him in the 4th spot, but his really only losses are to Essential Quality, that's obviously not bad loss to have the Essential Quality. So, coming off a layoff, a little bit of a question mark, but he's a horse that if for some reason they decide to go at it, he's going to be coming late. Yeah,
it's a fun edition of the Rebel. Really nice card at Oaklawn on Saturday with plenty of stakes section. Year-old race. We didn't handicap, but do want to mention, because we mentioned it a little bit earlier, a race you'll want to pay attention to on Saturday. And again, hope to have Ken McPeak on racing across about that on Vuitton, but also want to talk about the return of Swiss Skydiver and the Beholder. She'll be It's Saturday afternoon, 7:20 our time. You can look for it here on the network, the Beholder Mile. And she was just so phenomenal last year, kind of traveling, so good in the 3-year-old season last year up here at Saratoga, Alabama, second in the Kentucky Oaks. Follows that up, beating the boys in the Preakness. It was just a phenomenal 3-year-old season. Really looking forward to her 4-year-old return.
Yeah, just a true professional. When you actually state that term, she did everything that was asked of her. And when everybody thought that, well, she's had too many races or, she's traveled too much, she just kept, and Ken McPeak would be honest about it. He's like, we were looking for a sign for her to tell us that she doesn't want to go, she doesn't want to run, and each and every time do it. She was unbelievable. I'm definitely looking forward to her. It's a pretty competitive race, though. I mean, she's 8-5 on the morning line, but Harvest Moon's interesting, a couple other horses, but she's clearly the horse to beat, especially from last year.
Yeah, looking forward to one again. It'll be about 7:20. The 8th race at Santa Anita, the Beholder Mile. All right, we're going to wrap things up, but before we do, as always, we want to alert people to some of the events coming up here at Capital OTB.
Yeah, so this Saturday with the syndicate, the team's already been selected, but look for syndicates going forward on a week basis. We'll try to or buy with this week. You can sign up from take advantage of that. If you live close by in the Albany region, we have a $100 play the board contest. It's new. It's 5 different races, 5 different bet types, so there's a lot of handicapping strategy to it. Take advantage of that. We also have tourney betting every Naira Day. Advantage of that, go to capitalot.com, click on the tourney bets. It'll take you to their website. We have free contests. There's some paid entries as well. Some big prize money to be won, so take advantage of all of that. And then the second half of March is going to be outstanding as far as promotions goes. To look forward to, we have rolls with Brooklyn Cowboy. We had the bankroll with you. We're going to have another one on the 25th. We have the NCAA tournament coming up, so the clubhouse is going to have a basketball promotion that we're going to do as well. And then we're going to have a huge day with the Florida Derby Cup on the 27th to look forward to as well. So tons of contests, tons of cash back bonuses as well. Mondays and Tuesdays, we have our Dark Day bonus, 1% Dark Day bonus on Parks and Mahoning, and then 2% nighttime thoroughbred bonus on Wednesdays. So there's just so much here at Capital OTB, and take advantage of it.
Yeah, and again, as always, watch OTB Live in the afternoon. We'll keep you up to date there. Our new podcast, you can check that out. We'll keep you alerted as that rolls out more and more. Again, we've been in this afternoon or this morning, whenever. We're taping it in the afternoon, but people can watch it
That's true.
anytime.
Once it hits social media, you can watch it at any point. So.
The beauty of
social
media.
And the new podcast, the trivia section, because we're going to do some giveaways with that as well. We're going to link up social media in the podcast. You've done a tremendous job with that. And the trivia's fun, because I actually was listening to the one you did today with...
Brian got it.
Was Wood by Mile?
Yeah. Yes.
So now that's a little intrigue to go back and listen to what the question was. But I figured it had to have been the Wood by Mile just because of the hints that you gave at one point. So, but it was fun.
Yeah. So again, the daily report, you can check that out, as I say, as we roll that out more and more. Mike, appreciate it.
Good luck to everybody.
And you're tuning in, and I'll wish you all good luck, and we'll see you again next time.
You're watching Capital OTB TV. Wager at CapitalOTBBet.com for the most comprehensive wagering site and the best player rewards in New York State.